Hello, another Cursed Realm guide for you guys. As you can see, the requirements are still at 350, so they're pretty much fixed, it seems. So that means maybe a lot of you can join and participate in this Cursed Realm. I will go through the whale meta top 1 is using, and I will show you my teams, and I will show you some alternatives in the end if you cannot build what I present or what the top is using. So we are fighting Nemora, the demonic entity, or Dark Nemora she is called also. It's almost only ultimates that deal damage, and currently I am top 8. I'll begin with showing you the top 1's team. As you can see, he's using some variation of Raidborns. It's pretty RNG. I tried this and it works somewhat, but you need investment in the engravings. This one I couldn't make work because my Scarlet is not strong enough, I think. And for this one I have a variation without the new Awakened Talene. And this one I have the 5-pull with Lucretia, and so I have come up with a comp with Daemon, which does not the exact amount of damage as this, but it's quite good. And for the boss fight, I think it looks something like this. This week's boss fight will be low damage, don't expect much, and don't use key heroes for this fight. If you want to use this whale setup, you need a maxed out Thane. I'll show you my setup and alternatives in the end. As you can see, I am currently top 8% with 7.9 billion damage, although I do expect to fall out of top 10 before the event is over. I might do a last run with fresh mercs tomorrow, and I will share if I improve my score. Okay, so here's my top 1 team, and I will go through all my teams and explain the key investments and why I've structured the teams as I have. So for this first team, you might notice that I'm using Merlin. That is actually to block the Fox Coven. As you can see, Merlin uses his ultimate, Grin gets the shield, and he blocks the Coven from Fox. You can also use different other setups. Then you will rely on RNG for him to resist. You need higher engravings the better for the tenacity, so you can resist it. Actually, you don't really need the extra healing, but Merlin provides a significant boost. No one's gonna die, and you're gonna get a pretty high score with this setup. Otherwise, you need to get Mythic Mortars with signature item 20 for the AoE and signature item 30 for Grin for the extra stun, and of course Odin. And of course Odin benefits a lot for this investment too. Alright, so fight 2. You've probably seen this fight with the Iron setup. My Iron setup only dealt around 800 million, so this scales a bit higher. I couldn't really make it work perfectly. As you can see, she is signature item 30 and has her 3 out of 9, which makes her pop off. Of course, 9 out of 9 would be even better, but you don't need it per se. Of course, you want to get the maximum damage. What you need is the engravings 38, because you'll get the extra damage, the extra attack bonus, and you'll get the extra magic penetration and attack speed. Of course, you can build her to 60 or 65, 66 I think it is. Otherwise, Gressel's there to boost her damage and provide minions, and you can also use Rosaline here if you don't follow my setup. Also, the Zero's ultimate reduces the damage taken by the minions, so I don't know if that affects Scarlet negatively. Team number 3. Okay. The key investments, in my opinion, would be engraving 60 on Mishka, because she does a lot of healing and reduces the damage with her shield. But you also have Sauros, which is kind of a heal bot, so I believe you can do it without. Otherwise, I would say the engravings on Leonardo da Vinci helps a lot. You need the extra insight, and also the 9 out of 9, so they take 40% more damage. I just want to show you that I have 36, so the notes that I've chosen are Haste and Insight. Otherwise, I would say that some investment in aces of course help, but that was mainly to make them survive. So it works this way that Raku is on the front line to take damage from the enemy Raku, so he gets his ultimate up and popping. His 9 out of 9 would deal some a little bit more solo damage or single target damage, which is great with this debuff. Otherwise, Aces just pulls them down and stacks them up so they deal less damage, and so the Saus can hit them and also generate a lot of healing. Fight 4 has a lot of RNG. As you can see, I don't have super high damage compared to others. My Lucretia is not super much built with 1 star, but otherwise you need some engravings. I really think you need the engravings on Queen because her insight needs to get higher. As you can see, I've engraved her in 13, so I get the 2 basic ones and then this one to increase the insight to 19.5. It really depends on the nuclear effect, which means that her or her allies will stun the enemy for 2 seconds if they crit 2 times while the effect is active. So that's also why the signature item 30 on Squid to gain the extra sandstorm damage is pretty good. And of course I would also engrave Iron at some point because he gains some haste and other stuff. Team 5, as you can see, I have a Halos Merc, that's why he's so strong. This setup wouldn't really work without a strong Halos. Basically, it's all about boosting Damon's damage. Strilda, Hodgkin, Rosaline, they all boost his damage. So he just stacks his damage up frontline while he tanks and also receives energy. And the damage keeps escalating because of Halos and the buffs he gets. He also steals some attack damage from the enemy, and in the end he can do 1 billion or 1 billion plus, I would say, depending on the investment. And the key investment is of course a very strong Halos that needs to survive the front line. His E60 helps with manager regeneration, but yeah, you don't really need a maxed out Halos, I think. So Damon works at signature item 20. I don't think he needs his furniture, but they help with increased a little bit of damage. Estrella helps with her furniture 3 out of 9, which buffs the damage, also defense. And Hodgkin, I really wanted his signature item 20 to get extra healing. Otherwise, his signature item makes sure that they are all sight, which buffs some abilities of his, which is not really mandatory. But the stronger Rosaline, the better. But I think signature item 20 and furniture item 3 out of 9 is perfectly fine. Boss fight, I'm using this setup. There are some crazy setups out there, but you can't really expect to deal a lot of damage. Focus on the other teams and use this boss team if you have. Or the alternatives I will show you in a little bit. Joker and Prince of Persia will just do their stuns, and he will use his all out of attack and Screx. Furniture 9 out of 9 is required to gain the extra energy, and I believe that Ophelia is really good for this setup. Otherwise you can use Luca. Alright, so this first team you're really dependent on Kren, Odin and Mortas, but you can try using this setup with Damon, or maybe try with Isolt if you have him built. So if you use Damon in fight 1, you will have freed up Rosaline for this fight. Rosaline of course follows Scarlet. If you have Irons, you can use them in this setup. You can also swap out Silas and Rosaline with Arthur and Rain. So this next fight, I'm not really sure if this setup works, but I tried to come up with some alternatives. The key here is really Raku and Mishka. Saus helps a lot with this healing. And then you need some kind of CC like Goro or Tarsi. You can also use Luca or Aces for the mana or the energy region. A budget 5 pro could look like this. If you don't have Queen, you can try with Titus or Work. I actually think that Work can do a lot of damage with this ultimate, especially if you have invested in Work. Titus might not be that good. Team 5 could look like this, depending on if you used Irons earlier. Halos can really be used at E+, but less effective. Here's another setup you could try if you have those heroes built. In my opinion, Team 5 is very hard for free to play. So focus on the other teams and getting a high damage on those. Boss team could look like this. You can also use Rain, Rowan and Rosaline to get a higher score. I hope this helps, and if you find some better teams, let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching.